Hi, everybody. If you're just tuning in, welcome. We're going to be starting shortly with our Southern Hemisphere webinar. All right, looks like everybody's pretty much tuned in. So this is Lars Light from the Somm Journal, welcoming you to our beautiful educational webinar on the Southern Hemisphere on behalf of the Somm Journal, SommFoundation, and the new Sotheby's Wine Encyclopedia by National Geographic Publishing. Welcome to Winery Close-Ups. Today's theme is that asks a question: is winemaking in the Southern Hemisphere just about mirror images, or is it a brave new world? Terroir changes, obviously, but the basics remain the same with parallels to be drawn. No pun intended. Well, okay, all the pun is intended. Just to remind you that this is being recorded. It's going to be on our sommjournal.com website. And also right now we're on Facebook Live. And also the SommFoundation website will be having a link to this recording as well. The printed recap will be in the the February-March issue of the Somm Journal. And there's a lot of reasons to pay attention besides the brilliant information that we're about to give you. Lynn Fletcher from the Somm Journal is going to tell us about some real great incentives to pay attention to today. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, Lars. Thank you. So first off, I just want to say thank you so much to you and to the Somm Journal and all of our panelists today for providing this opportunity for everyone. So tomorrow we're going to do a random drawing, and 8 of you on this webinar are going to receive access to the Somm Geo program created by Greg Van Wagner. So look forward to hearing about that. And then we also have our essay contest coming up. So by Thursday, everyone on the webinar will receive an email from us with the prompt telling you what the essay should be about. And you'll have until November 17th to submit your essays. And by the 29th, we will announce the winner, and first and second place will both receive a copy of the new Sotheby's Wine Encyclopedia, and first place will get a check for $400 sponsored by the Somm Journal and the participating wineries. So pay attention. Again, you'll be able to review the webinars. We'll post the recordings on our websites, and have a good time and enjoy. Thanks, Lars.
Thank you, Lynn. What a great opportunity. Love what you guys do in the SommFoundation. So I also want to say thanks to Greg Van Wagner, who's on board here in his Somm Geo program. Boy, a lot of you, just a number of you, are going to, just for showing up, get a chance to use that program for a year. That's fantastic. It is, as I like to call it, Google Earth meets the wine world. Greg has given us a little bit of a layout, a map here. He's going to help us zoom into each of the locations we're going to. But Greg, why don't you give us a start, give us an overview of where we're going. If you guys are familiar with Greg, I'm sure, from the Somm world. He was a longtime Somm at Jimmy's in Aspen, and he's the mastermind behind this fantastic program. So welcome, Greg Van Wagner.
Lars, thank you so much. It's great to be here. And yeah, as you alluded to, Somm Geo, it's the tour you'll see today. It's all part of a larger platform that covers in-depth wine theory, tours that cover really the whole world, every notable wine region, and over 100 high-res printable and downloadable maps. But I'll take us away. This was a really exciting tour for me to make. I know I learned quite a bit, and there's a couple countries that maybe I was less familiar with before, and it's been really great to check out all the great wineries. So we're going to start in Peru. We'll be doing our tour of the Southern Hemisphere, heading down to Mendoza, where we have a trio of stellar wineries. We'll be headed over to Uruguay, right there, right above Montevideo, and then over across the Atlantic to South Africa. Very, very cool. But we'll kick it off today in Peru. And Peru, of course, very famous for Pisco, but really has such a long grape growing culture. dating back hundreds of years. There's also quite a bit of influence from the Pacific here, which helps to cool down the vineyards, and also really great diurnal temperature shifts. So you get those cool nights that really help to freshen up the acidity. We're going to be headed to the Ica Valley. This is really the top wine region of Peru, the Valle de Ica. And these lower altitude areas where they have really great water helps them to really dial in the grape growing production. This is an area that I had never explored before, so it's been very, very cool to see. And Viña Quirolo does quite a bit, both with indigenous grapes, international varieties, even a boutique hotel. With that, I'm excited to hear more.
Absolutely. So here to kick it off, we have Luis Gomez, who is the winemaker for Viña Quirolo. And again, I'm as excited as you, Greg. Peru and Uruguay are in countries we hear about a lot. So Luis, please tell us some more. What's going on down in Peru?
Hello, everyone. I'm Luis Gomez. I'm from Mendoza, Argentina, but I work here since 3 years. I did my presentation to share our works in Peru. The Viña Quirolo is a family winery with more than 140 years of experience here in Peru. As you say, with a big experience in Pisco and in wine too. They arrived from Italy in 1877, and the winery was founded in 1880. So here the family has a big experience with red wines, white wines, and of course, Pisco. Today, and in this day, the family has more than 800 hectares of vineyard in Ica Valley and in Cañete Valley. If we talk about Peru, Peru is a big country with a big rainforest. There are the Andes mountain, and there is a large coastline. And as you can see in this picture, Peru is outside of the optimal latitude of grape for wines. But here we have two important characteristics with a big influence on the terroir. The first is the Andes mountain. The mountain is a big wall that prevents the humidity and the rains from the east, especially from Brazil and Bolivia. And the second one, for me, in my opinion, the most important is in the Pacific Ocean. In the Pacific Ocean, there is a marine current called Humboldt Current or Peru Current. And it causes that the cold water from the bottom of the sea rise to the surface. So this current produced that the temperature in the water is lower than the normal according to the latitude. So there evaporation, there are less evaporation, there aren't any rains in the coast, especially in the south. So the final result of these two characteristics, the Andes mountains and the currents in the Pacific Ocean, is the formation of a big desert in the south of Lima, in Ica region. In this region, in Ica, in this desert, we produce high quality grape for wines. And here, there are maps of Lima, Cañete is the other region. We have a small vineyard here close to the sea. And 300 kilometers to the south is Ica with this big desert. Here's the maps of Ica, or Ica Valley. Ica Valley is a valley created by the Ica River. And it is between the Andes Mountain and this big desert, the coastal desert. And we have our vineyard in the beginning of the valley, the top of the valley, next to the Andes Mountain. And what is the most important characteristic in the climate of Ica? The rains. The rains are less than 20 millimeters a year. It's a desert. Literally, it's a desert. We have a high sun radiation, a lot of sun. More than 350 sunny days a year. Is the name of our wine is Intipalca. Intipalca means sun valley, because we have a lot of sun. And the most important for the quality of grape for wine is the high thermal amplitude. In several cases, we have more than 18 or 20 Celsius degree between the day and the night. Inside of the vineyard, we have two different places: the mountains with rocky and calcareous soil, with vineyard with less production, high concentration, more sugar, because here we have more radiation, and more color. Here we have Tanat, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and a little part of Sauvignon Blanc. And the other part of the vineyard, I call flat vineyard, with sand and silt soil. And here the production is a little more, but the grapes have more acidity. Here we produce Malbec, a lot of Malbec, Tanat, Syrah, Merlot, Chardonnay, and some Sauvignon Blanc. So we have two different places inside of the Ica Valley with different characteristics for our wines. Finally, this is our icon wine with the two best varieties, in my opinion, here in Peru, is Malbec and Tanat, 55 and 45, with an aging of 12 months in barrel. Now in the market is the harvest is 2018. Some of the description is in the slide, but it's a good blend with a good potential aging, more or less 10 years, I suppose. Thank you very much. This is our complete line with our single vineyard, some white wines, and reserve wines.
Excellent. Thank you, Luis. Very fast question for you.
Yeah,
I assume you had some experience working in Argentina with Malbec. What are some of the essential differences or similarities? Real fast answer.
This is a classic question. The most important difference is here the Malbec is less fruit but high spicy in the nose. Maybe more color in some cases, but the most important difference is less fruit, more spicy.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that. All right, Greg, where are we going next?
All right, so we are headed over to Argentina.
Nice.
And Argentina, again, a country with a really long history of viticulture, and really, you know, the quality is the best that it's ever been. Some really stellar wines coming out. Here we have, these are the Andes Mountains, which creates a rain shadow effect over most of Mendoza. We can follow some of the classic areas. We have Salta up towards the top, very well known for Torrontés, but also, you know, typically often when you're thinking Argentina, you know, you're also thinking Malbec, and they really brought that variety onto the world stage and brought a lot of international acclaim to it. But we are headed specifically to Mendoza. We have a great trio of producers, and you know, coming down from the Andes Mountains, you have the Zonda, and this is a very fierce wind that's dry, and it's a foehn wind. So essentially, it's a downsloping wind that helps to you know, resist disease pressure, but it's also quite fierce. So it impacts the vineyards quite a bit. And specifically, we're headed to the highest elevation areas of the Uco Valley. This is Guataraí, where we have Domaine Bosquet, and they're actually Argentina's largest producer and exporter of 100% certified organic wines. And really, really fun. Mendoza's been on my list for a long time. I've never been there. It looks like an absolutely incredible place. So I'm excited to hear more.
All right, fantastic. And here from Domaine Bousquet is Franco Astillas, who is the agronomist. This is a man that's knows his rocks. Franco, every time I see you, you've got a picture of a rock in your hand, and sometimes in your mouth too. I've seen that. So
Yeah,
welcome,
that's right.
Franco.
Okay, I'm going to share screen now.
Great. Perfect.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks, everyone, to come here. Thanks, Lars. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Greg, for the opportunity to have this this webinar. It's really important for us. So I want to be really quick because I have to finish in 7 minutes. I'm Franco Astillas, the agronomist of Domaine Bousquet. I have 31 years old, and I was born here in Guataraí, the zone that we are going to talk about. These are 2 pictures of our main vineyard. At the left side, it's the place where in the beginning, when they start all this project. And the right side, it's the place that we have today. So we want to show you in a quick timeline how this can put it in order. In 1997, Jan Bousquet came here to Argentina, looking for places to have a viticulture, vines and a winery outside France. First of all, he came to Argentina, and then he went to Mendoza, and then he found Guataraí. He fell in love with this area, with this climate, the terroir. And then her daughter, Anne Bousquet, and the husband, David, they start to work here. They start to invest here in the winery. And in 2011, they start to have the full control of the company. Today, we have 250 hectares of own vineyard. And also, we are working with a lot of growers in Uco Valley in the organic certification. This is our 360 sustainable commitment, because we are seeing the sustainability not only in the environmental side, also within the economic and social side. For that, we are working with the people, with the community here. Here you have very little towns around all the vineyards and wineries, and we are working with them, trying to have a better social impact and economic too for them. This is our certifications that we're working now. We're working obviously with organic certification, but also we're working with Fair for Life. We are working with BRC. Now we are doing our first steps in B Corp, and also with the Demeter certification for biodynamics. This year was the first biodynamic practices that we are doing. We're in process, but we hope that we will have very good news for the next year. Okay, this is the Uco Valley. At the bottom right of your screen, you have a map of Argentina. At the right side of Argentina, you have Mendoza, and then inside of Mendoza, you have the left side of Mendoza, you have the Uco Valley. The Uco Valley is a place that it's composed by 3 different departments: Tunuyán, San Carlos, and Chupungato. We are located in Chupungato mainly. Here we can see the map of the valley, and you have the different colors because here we have different deposits that came from the Andes. All this valley was formed by the river Las Tunas that it burns in the Andes, and then he cross around all the valley and put in all the deposit of sand and rocks and different stones inside the different places that it's located right there. This is Huaycarías, that is a place that's a very important, but we're going to talk about later. And another thing that it's really important for us, because we are in the second alluvial terrace that came from Las Tunas River. And an important thing that we have here is the influence of calcareous inside the bottom layers of the soil. Here we have main influence, not only about sand and rocks that it's really important for us, but also we have a lot of calcareous. The calcareous, it's like a calcium carbonate that it's formed in a natural way across thousands and thousands of years of deposit of different elements that came from the Andes. And that gives to us two main advantages. The first one, it's like the calcareous acting like a sponge that can retain humidity and minerals. And it's really important for the profile of our different wines. We choose to give an example of our wines, the Cab Franc. I know that the obvious choose to be here in Uco Valley and everything, the wine that everyone going to talk, it's about Malbec, but we want to talk about Cabernet Franc because first of all, that show to everyone that Uco Valley it's not only Malbec, Argentina is not only Malbec, you have beautiful varieties, and Cabernet Franc, I think that it's a huge expression about that. We have here a beautiful Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and I think that the Cabernet Franc that we can see here in the pictures, we can see the presence of calcareous and also the stones and sand that can give to us really a combination between the potential of the zone and the natural expression of the wines. That's mainly the objective and the focus that we're doing in the fields and also in the winery with the enology team. So this is our wine. It's a Gaia Cabernet Franc. And I was pretty good with the time because I have a minute left.
You were great with the time. Thank you, Franco.
Yeah.
So I have to, I have to, so I'll use your rest of your minute on you. I have to say, I'm fortunate enough to have this wine in front of me, and Cabernet Franc happens to be one of my favorite varieties out there. It's just I love the structure and that little bit of spiciness that it has to it. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination one of the world's great blind tasters, but if I was asked to peg this wine, I think I would pretty much obviously say New World, but I don't know that I would have called it Argentina. It's got some beautiful structure and spice to it. Really well-made wine. The oak regimen is extremely well balanced. You can tell it's given the wine time to breathe, but there's no oak domination in it. What is your oak regimen with this wine?
Sorry?
What is your oak treatment with this wine? How much time in barrels? What kind of barrels?
Yeah, we are working with oak, but we only have like 8 or 10 months. That because we don't want so much oak intervention in it. We only want that expression of the terroir, right. The soil that we have here in Gualterí, and also the typicity of a variety like Cabernet Franc. So for that, we are trying to not much oak in this type of wines.
Great. Well, you've succeeded. Great varietal typicity in that wine. That's super. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Franco.
No, thanks.
All right. If you can hit your stop share. Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Greg, what's the next stop on our Southern Hemisphere bus?
All right. So we are also in Mendoza, but we're going to a different area. We're going to Luan de Coyo. This is really right at the base of the mountains, also very high altitude. We are just south of the city itself of Mendoza, and Bodega Kiken just right there, and you can see the mountains just really right at the kind of border of the Luan de Coyo. But we were looking pretty high elevation. So if you look in the lower right-hand corner, right where this one is, you can see the altitude. So all of these are over 1,000 meters. So, 3,300 feet, great area for a lot of different varieties, and altitude really helps quite a bit when it comes to Mendoza. And here we are. This is down at the winery. Really amazing shot. And this one, I really love this photo as well. So with that, excited to hear more.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And with us, we have Gustavo Horman, who is the winemaker for Kiken. And Gustavo, I'm excited to hear what you have to say, because I remember when this project was started by Aurelio Montes. Very exciting project. So please tell us more, Gustavo. Welcome.
Hi, Lars. Hi, everyone. Many thanks for your invitation to be part of this webinar. My name is Gustavo Herman. As you said, I'm the general manager and chief winemaker of Kiken, but I'm actually also the former chief winemaker of Montes Wines in Chile. And I would like to introduce you a little bit about Kiken. And it's impossible to do it without to mention our founder, Aurelio, who is my mentor. Aurelio is the founder of Montes Wines in Chile. He founded the winery in 1987. And after 15 years, well, he's a very restless guy and also very innovative. So he decided to fly over the Andes and to explore the region of Mendoza. And sorry, we have a problem with the presentation. So he decided to found this project in 2002, and in 2016 I moved from Chile to Mendoza to take in charge the operation of Kiken. Kiken is basically the name of a wild goose that lives in Patagonia. And is able to cross the Andes from Chile to Argentina back and forward, same way that Aurelio did at the beginning. So it represents more or less what we are right now. The winery is located in Luan de Coyo. It has a capacity of 7 million liters and oak barrels for aging around 2,000. Currently, the vineyards in Argentina are throughout the country, from the northern border with regions such as Cafayate and Jujuy to the very extreme south in Patagonia. But the main production of wine is located in the region of Mendoza, that represents more of the 70% of the wine production. Kiken has several properties. Two of those are located in Luan de Coyo. The one is where we are right now, where we have the winery. It's called Vistalba. We also have another one in the southern part of Luan de Coyo, which is the property of Agrelo. And then the big one we own is located in the heart of Yuco Valley, and it's called Los Chacayes. Vistalba is part of Luan de Coyo, is well known as the first zone of Mendoza, because it's the place where we can find the oldest vineyard of French varieties planted in the area, and it's part of the alluvial formation of the Mendoza River. As you can see in the profile, it's full of round of boulders with some limestone, but with some cap of earth on the top. Agrelo, the next property, is a little bit more in the south. It's quite high in altitude as well, over 1,000 meters above the sea level, but it's a formation also of the Mendoza River, but the profile of the soil has less boulders. The wine that I'm going to show you or introduce you today is the Ultra Malbec. It is 100% Malbec. Actually, it's a blend of 3 different regions, but the most important one for us is Los Chacayes, and I'm going to go deeper into that appellation. That's the alluvial cone of El Arroyo Grande, which is the name of the river that formed this IG, or identity of geography. And our property is just divided by the river. So in both banks of the river, we have different condition of soils, and both conditions have some special characteristic to this wine.
Hey, Gustavo, I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute, and I paused your clock for you. But if you can just, whoever's operating this, the PowerPoint for you, if you can switch to configuración so we can see the full screen, that would be great.
Okay.
If you go up to the top where it says configuración, yeah, right there, the visualización. Just switch the screens and we should be able to see the full screen.
Is that better?
Not yet. There we go. Perfect. Okay, you can go right ahead. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's the alluvial cone that I told you before. It's the formation of Los Chacalles. And well, in the north bank of the property, we have the oldest formation in terms of geological ages is like 80 million years older than the south bank. And in that part of in that part, we have boulders full of limestone, so that gives to the wine a lot of mineral character. And in the south bank, we have another kind of formation, which is much newer, and as you can see, is full of very big stones, and that gives us some characteristic. It's very special, you know, in the wine. The wines we get from that bank are much more fruitier than from the north bank. And also the wild herbs that grows around the vineyards are very, very aromatic, like thyme and jarilla. So the final blend of the wine normally tends to have some very dark fruit with some hints of spiciness, and in the mouth express a lot the minerality of the soil of the north bank of Los Chacalles. So it's a fairly interesting wine. I hope that you can enjoy it wherever you are. And well, thank you so much again for your time.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gustavo. And a fast question for you, similar to what I asked Luis. Now, you have experience in Chile, and I assume, because I know that Montes does work with Carmener in Chile. Now you were in Argentina working with Malbec. Can you tell us some of the revelations, the big differences between those two varieties and those two terroirs?
Well,
in 120 words or less.
In terms of terroirs, both are quite different. You know, Chile has another kind of climate. It's basically Mediterranean. It's quite influenced by the Pacific Ocean. Is much cooler than Mendoza, and is also a little more humid. It rains a lot during winter and springtime, and then it's dry in summer. In Mendoza, we have a continental monsoon kind of weather, so it's fairly dry. It rains only a couple of times during summer, and it's basically like a desert in high altitude. And so that makes a lot of difference, and a big difference. And in terms of the varieties, well, both Carmener and Malbec are part of the 6 authorized varieties in Bordeaux to produce Bordeaux blends. Right. Both mainly or mostly disappear in France after the attack of the phylloxera and after the frost of 1956. But they developed very well in Chile and Argentina. Carmener is a very late ripening variety. The seasonal time that it takes to get ripe is quite long, so it's mainly or probably the latest variety to be harvested. In the opposite way to Malbec, which is a variety that has a very, very short period of ripeness, so that makes also a lot of difference. Even more if you compare it in the different places where are planted.
Okay, brilliant, excellent. Thank you very much, Gustavo. Very clear. Two real great South American wines. So please, Greg, I know we're not going too far again, but tell us what's the next stop.
Absolutely. Yes, so we are also in Mendoza, but here we, are down in the Then in the Yuco, we have these two great estates set out, Los Dolores and Dana Angeles. We're talking Guataraí. For the most part, this is high elevation, and also those limestone soils, really, really important here. And this is, typically become known as an area that makes a little bit more elegant style of wine. Well, we can head up to the winery itself. A little bit closer to the city of Mendoza. They have a really great historic building that they've fully modernized, and really great there. And yeah, another beautiful, beautiful shot of Mendoza, and excited to check out more.
Fantastic. And with us today, we have Miriam Gomez, who is the winemaker for Antigal, talking about her Uno Malbec. So Miriam, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm Miriam Gomez. I'm a head winemaker here in Antigal. And first, I want to say thank you so much for inviting us to this amazing webinar. At the beginning, I talk a little bit about our winery. This one is a really nice picture for our winery that Greg says some minutes ago. Our building or our winery and all of our facilities are in Maipú, in the first zone, but this one is in a very old winery, a very old building that was founded in 1897 and then was rebuilt in 2000. But our vineyards are mainly in Uco Valley, and it's for that I focus in this terroir mainly. Well, as all other partners says and talk about Argentina, Mendoza, and Franco says a lot of bit about Uco Valley and in very well mood. You can see here Argentina, you can see here within Argentina, Mendoza, and within Mendoza, Uco Valley, that is divided in different zones. And it's good to say that in Uco Valley is one of the most demanded areas nowadays for high quality wines. And we have there really very famous places or terroirs like Altamira, El Peral, Vista Flores, and any others, and Gualtallarí inside. Uco Valley mainly is, we have 3 zones in Uco Valley, like Tunuyán, San Carlos, and Tupungato, and we have our vineyards in Tupungato, we have one in La Arboleda, and then we have in Gualtallarí. It's good to see that Uco Valley is an oasis located in the center west of Mendoza, and this one is made at the beginning. We have the Tunuyán River that it stands in the foot of in the Andes, and then cross all the valley from north to south, and we can found some different soils and climate related with the high or lower zone. In the high zones, in talking about soils, we have the predominance of stones and coarse textures, sandy textures mainly, and here we shallow soils in general. And we were talking about Gualtallarí in this case. In the lower zones that we can see, we can find La Arboleda, our other vineyard. We have the fine textures, clay, silks, and few stones with the deep soil. And in order to the climate, we can divide again in high areas with the greater light intensity, determinant of the polyphenolic content. And in the low zones, we have a lower minimum temperature that it was a great influence in the acidity to the grape in order to a very good richness in polyphenolic on the grapes. mainly if we put focus in Gualtallarí, in our vineyard La Dolores. La Dolores have a very desert soil, and in this case, this altitude and this strong solar exposure to the grapes are that their skins automatically become thicker, and it's for that we can find wines with very strong character, high concentration in color, concentration, structure, very good texture, and not only for the red wines, if the white ones too, that allows to aging in oak or wines with very good aging and volume and palate. And then we have I can show you our vineyards that I say you. We have Gualtallarí, we have La Arboleda, and then we have the other vineyard here in Maipú. And the wine that I want to present you is our Uno Malbec. This Malbec is our hero, is our wine, our main wine. And this Malbec is made with Malbec from all these kind of zones, and is kind of blended of different zones of Malbec, mainly Uco Valley and a little bit from our vineyard here in Mexico. And this one is a wine with very good combination, a very good balance between oak and with the fruit, very refreshing. And nowadays we are with the harvest 2018, and we aged in oak for 10 months. And just the 80% of the wine and the other 20% is with the oak in order to preserve this balance between the fruit and the oak. Well,
Fantastic.
option.
Miriam, what kind of oak do you use?
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Miriam. Question for you. What kind of oak do you use?
We mainly use French oak. Usually we work with a mix between French and American oak. 20% French oak and 80% French oak and 20% American oak.
Okay. And again, what I'm seeing is beautiful restraint. I mean, clearly your phenols are not an issue. The wine is extremely dark, but it's got a beautiful balance between structure, great backbone, and wonderful silky fruit. So compliments. It's really, Uno's really a beautiful wine. Very much enjoying it. All right, Greg, let's keep this moving. We're going to go on a road trip now a little bit, staying in South America, but leaving the Argentine border. And where are we heading?
We are headed over to Uruguay. This is one of the only wine growing countries in South America that has this Atlantic maritime climate. Here we have, this is the Rio de la Plata. This is the widest, it's the largest estuary / river really in the world. Montevideo, the capital and largest city, just right there. And specifically, we're headed to Canelones. Canelones is the premier wine growing region of Uruguay, and it's also home to 60% of the country's wines. To not, you know, if you're talking Uruguay, chances are good you may encounter, we may be talking about Sonata at some point. And really, I think that's such a compliment when a wine region is able to become the classic area for a grape. I mean, I'm sure it's from Matterhorn, but it really just shows just how well it is suited to the environment here. Here we have Las Brujas. These are where the vineyards for Jimenez Mendez are, and one of the top spots for a variety of different grapes. With that, I'll hand it back to Lars for more.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Greg. So with us today, we have Sebastian Gonzato, who's the export manager for Jimenez Mendez. And again, it's fun to speak about these countries that we're just starting to hear a little bit more about Uruguay. And it's kind of neat that you're not talking about Tannat, which we've all come to expect a little bit more, but you're going to tell us obviously a little bit about Tannat, but you're focusing on your Malbec, which I'm excited to hear about. Again, that translation going from Peru to Argentina to Uruguay. So welcome, Sebastian. Hello, how are you? For us, it's a deep pleasure. In name of Jimenez Mendez, we would like to give thanks to all the SommJournal team for this opportunity. Okay, so I will share the presentation. Okay. So the best kept secret of Uruguay is how we can produce a very soft Tannat when we have the most tannic variety in the world, that is Tannat, right? So it's a big challenge for Uruguayan winemakers since a lot of time ago, because Uruguay has been Uruguay has been producing wines since 2 centuries ago. Okay, but there are a lot of things to talk about Uruguay. So to make a little summary in 7 minutes, all right. But the first of all, that we would like to say that in Uruguay we love the asado, we love the beef. Okay, we love football, the dulce de leche, tango. Okay, we are only 3.5 million people, all right, and we are 99 immigrants from Spanish and Italian. Wow. Okay. So when immigrants come to Uruguay, they place very close to the coast, to Montevideo, Canelones. Okay. So it's in this area is where are concentrated the most important quantity of vineyard, all right? But you can see here where Uruguay is placed in the world. We are in the same parallel as Chile, Argentina, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, all right? But with a big difference, for example, with our neighbors, that our lands are very, very close to the ocean, all right? We are like more or less 10, 12 meters above the sea, okay? Okay, you can see the map of Uruguay. We have not the dock, all right? But we have 19 departments, and in Canelones, that is in south, all right? I don't know, but you can see here in this area, okay, is where you have the most important concentration of wine producer. Uruguay is the 4th largest producer in South America. We have only 6,000 hectares of vineyards in all the country, right? And the 66% is concentrated in the Canelones area, all right? And another important thing that the wine production is in hands of family, all right? No big corporations, all right? We have 1,200 registered vineyards, all right? And the 73% of these vignerons, all right, have less than 5 hectares. So until today, we keep the families keep the tradition in the grape production, all right? So nowadays we have 160 wineries, and only 40 actually are exporting. So Uruguay has a great potential to increase sales. So we are we can say that we are recently starting, all right? But Tannat, for example, has been more than 200 years here in Uruguay. And Uruguay exports to 45 international markets. And of course, the Tannat is the icon grape. Okay, this is the family, the Jimenez Mendez. The Jimenez has more than 70 years in the wine production, all right? And something important to say that is in the 50s, the Uruguayan drinks 50 liters per person. That was a lot. And today we are drinking 22. It's a high consumption. We have decreased
because we are drinking best wine, all right, best quality wines. We are in this process, all right. This is Marta and his young son, Mauro Jimenez Mendez. He's facing the wine production, okay, process. This is Marta, another owner. Okay, this is a photo of the winery. And here you can say, we have, in this area, we have the winery, all right? And here we have Las Brujas. Las Brujas is our most important vineyard, okay? That is 25 kilometers from Rio de la Plata. Rio de la Plata is the widest estuary in the world, okay? Our average temperature is 16 Celsius, all right? And we have a lot of rainfall, all right, if you compare with another producer country, all right? So where is the secret? The secret to avoid this humidity is in the soil, all right? You can see a photograph from the air, the soil. You have grass between the vineyards because this grass absorb the water, okay? And it's important because our soils are vertisoil. We call vertisoil. Our clay, they are rich in clay and organic material, okay? They make an accumulation of water during the spring, okay, that is necessary for the growth. But in summer, in the earth start to appear cracks. So here we have a decrease in the water concentration, and this is very important. This and another thing is the wind. The south wind from the Atlantic is very important for the aeration of the grape. All right. Okay, Tanat was introduced 200 years ago. We have 1,600 hectares, and in Madiran, that is the real origin of the Tanat, they have 3,000 approximately. Okay, we use Clone 474 from France, and we use a Lyra system. Like it's Lyra, you can see in the photo, okay? Here in this photo, can you see? We use this sort of system in the vineyard, all right? For best aeration, all right? And for example, for the Sauvignon Blanc is another wine that we produce. This one, this Sauvignon Blanc, okay? In this case, the Sauvignon Blanc is always in the shade, mainly in the middle date, all right? We use, would you like to ask something, Lars?
No, I was just going to say we have to kind of wrap it up. So I'll let you bring it home.
Okay. For Tanat, we use a little of micro oxygenation, all right? And we also use American and French oak of second use barrel, all right? Not first use, second use barrel. So it's a combination of barrels and micro oxygenation. All right. Yes.
No, I have to say, I mistakenly said before I was talking about Malbec. I don't know why I was hooked on Malbec, and I'm obviously drinking the Tanat right now. And it's a beautiful wine. It's got, if you told me that, you know, now I'm seeing that you're also talking about it coming from heavy clay soils. If you told me this was a rocky minerally soil, I would believe you, because the wine has beautiful minerality, brightness to it. Again, you would expect a Tanat to sort of rip the enamel off your teeth. But this Tanat does not. It's got beautiful, bright fruit. You know, it's got roundness, it's got softness, but it's got great, what they would call in Italian nervo. It's got great verve and nerve in the middle of it. Very exciting wine.
This is the big challenge of the Uruguayan winemakers. With the years, the winemaker have learned to tame these tannins. Yeah. And this is the secret of Uruguay.
They've done it well. You've done it well. Thank you.
I don't know if I have more time or not.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Can you wrap it up in 30 seconds or less?
About the Sauvignon Blanc, we have a lovely Sauvignon Blanc. When we started to produce the Sauvignon Blanc with the New Zealand style, okay, and today we export successfully to a lot of countries. Beautiful, beautiful. So I would like to thank, before finish, our partner in the US, that is Kisela company, okay. So any commercial issue, you can speak to them. So many thanks.
Great. I know you just started with Kisela. Great, great family winery. Wonderful selection there. So thank you very much,
No,
Bastian. And Greg, we're going to take this bus across the water, aren't we?
Totally, totally. I'm just gonna hop on the screen share. Sebastian, do you mind hitting the
Stop sharing, Sebastian, please.
There we go. Yeah, so we're headed across the Atlantic. We are going over to South Africa. Here we have at the very, very tip of the continent, the South African wine regions. The Benguela current comes from Antarctica. Really helps to cool down the vineyards. Also, the Cape Doctor wind really helps with disease pressure and also adds another cooling element. Here we have Chenin Blanc. It's the most planted grape variety. They have a ton of success with Cabernet Sauvignon. I think it's, in my opinion, just incredibly successful there, and a wide range of different other varieties, both international as well as I'm sure you've heard of Pinotage, classic to the region as well. Here we have Stellenbosch, just on the coast, very close to False Bay and just on the outskirts of Cape Town. And as we head down, really set in these dramatic mountains, Kiermont Vineyards. Again, this is just a place that I've been fortunate enough to been to many vineyards around the world, and South Africa has always just stunned me just with the beauty and just the size and scale and scope of the mountains. We have the Kiermont Vineyards wine farm, and really great shot there. And
beautiful.
I'll hand it back to Lars to hear more.
Thank you, Greg. So with us, we have Alex Sterry, who is the winemaker, and if I'm correct saying, the founding winemaker of Kiermont Vineyards. And he's going to talk to us about his Malbec from South Africa. No, I'm kidding. I'm just making fun of myself for confusing, but he's going to talk about Cabernet from South Africa, which is kind of fun. Alex, welcome and good evening to you. Most of us are in the morning or afternoon. You're in the evening.
Lars, thank you very much for having me. Yes, it is evening here. I can actually have a glass of wine with you, which is really nice. It's dark outside and we have load shedding, which is power outages, which we experience regularly, unfortunately, due to a lack of power in the country. But lovely to be here. Thank you for the introduction, Greg. You summed it up pretty well. My tech side is not as strong as yours, so I'm going to do my best to keep up with you. So yes, my name is Alex. I've been here at Kiermont since 2005 when we started the project. Just going to get my screen going here. We farm about 70 acres of vineyards up in the mountains above Stellenbosch. We have 13 different varieties growing on those 70 acres, and then a total of 370 acres, including some mountainous vegetation around us. We produce in our own little winery here on the farm about 6,500 cases. So it's a very small, some would say boutique type winery. For those of you who are not too familiar with South Africa, most of our wine growing happens within a few hours of Cape Town, which is right down in the south, close to the southernmost tip of Africa. We have the main regions being the Swartland, Constantia, Stellenbosch, and Franschhoek, all very close to Cape Town. And we are at about 34 degrees south, so generally pretty warm in summertime, warm, dry summers, and colder, wet winters. Our average rainfall here on the farm is about 1,000 millimeters. So Kiermont is set up in the mountains. These have a very strong influence on our soils. The mountains around us, obviously, it's broken down from the mountains. We have this overlying sandstone, which is some of the oldest rock structures in the world. And underneath that, we have granitic and underlying granite intrusions. And as that weathers down and breaks down, it forms our soils, which our vineyards are planted in. So this forms soils which have very good water holding capacity, obviously quite a high clay content, and fairly acidic soils, creating wines which are full-bodied with reds. They're generally quite high in tannins and color. So our vineyards are planted on fairly steep slopes. We are right up in the top of the valley. We have obviously the mountains, as I showed you just now, around us. And this has a massive effect on our microclimate up here, particularly significant for Kiermont, because we have very late sunrises and early sunsets, where, you know, being up in a valley, you have the cool air settling into the valley at night. And then obviously being in a warm climate, you have very warm, dry days as well. And so we have a big temperature variation between the evening time and cool mornings, and then quite warm days. And we believe that this leads to very good tannin development, very good color development. We never really battle for any of those things. You know, our wines are generally pretty dark without even thinking about it. And quite good sugar accumulation as well. You can see around our vineyards, we have a lot of natural vegetation. This leads to some pretty interesting encounters with nature. We have baboons and quite a lot of little deer up here, and various other wonderful wildlife. So you've got to take a bit of the rough with the smooth. The baboons tend to wreck the vineyards a little bit, and little antelope that eat them. So we farm with that, but also beautiful fresh air around us, and this lovely herbal natural vegetation, kind of like garrigue. In the winery, we work fairly sort of naturally and traditionally. You can see the white wines come in and are loaded into a little basket press that we've got to make our whites. Those will go, the juice basically goes straight into white large barrels, old 500-liter French oak barrels, and ferments using wild yeast only for about, or we leave them in there for about a year, and then are bottled after that. The red wines go into open top fermenters. Again, wild yeast fermentation. We don't do a lot of mucking around with it. We don't add acid. We don't add any enzymes. So the reds spend about 4 to 6 weeks on their skins. After that, the wine is pressed and into barrel. And again, we're using mostly French oak barrels and mostly older stuff. I don't really like a lot of new oak on our wines.
Bravo.
Most of the wines are bottled by hand, or all of them bottled by hand, and most of them bottled unfiltered. So the wine which we're featuring tonight is our Cabernet Sauvignon. As I mentioned, we've got 13 different varieties on the farm, so we do make quite a few different wines, but this area is renowned more for its Cabernet, which results in a fairly deep, dark, structured wine. We've followed a fairly traditional approach in our winemaking, so we don't have a very, I'd like to think, not too new world feel about the wine, almost a little bit more old world feel about it, but obviously with the power of the new world and the sunlight that we get down here. Most of that comes from our Cottage Lane vineyard, which is up here on the mountainside, very exposed to wind and sunlight, and therefore you get this lovely ripe character on the wine. So yeah, Lars, that's pretty much it from me. Thank you very much for the time tonight, and I hope there are a few questions. I'd love to answer them.
Absolutely. I'm just going to remind Luis that there's a question for him in the chat as well. And thank you very much for that, Alex. So I'm finding this wine to be very earthy. It's got beautiful earthiness, lush fruit. And I'm sorry if you touched on it a little bit, but can I just ask you to elaborate again in 120 words or less on the soil that's there?
Sure. So our soils are granite based. They are quite loamy, red clay loam. If you think about African soils, then you kind of get that red clay loam soil.
Right.
They are very weak, so they're not very they don't make for much vegetative growth. And our water comes mostly from springs or streams on the farm. So we do irrigate a little bit, but so mostly granitic and formed from sandstone. So we've got quite a bit of quartzite in them as well, and high in iron.
Excellent. The iron I can definitely see in the wine, that beautiful minerality and earthiness to it. Beautiful wine. Thank you very much, Alex. So, all right. So that wraps up our trip. Greg, thank you for driving the bus around the Southern Hemisphere for us. And to all of our brilliant panelists for sharing this wonderful educational opportunity. Everybody to remember to get your essays in. Lynn, you want to jump in for a second and just remind us the timing of the deadlines, please?
Sure. So you will all receive an essay prompt by Thursday via email from info@SommFoundation.com. And then you'll have until the 17th to submit your essays. All the instructions will be included with the email. And then we'll hold our random drawing for the SommGeo, the 8 people that will get SommGeo tomorrow. And I'll be reaching out to let you know if you're one of those lucky people. So thanks again, everybody. It was great.
Absolutely. So thank you again on behalf of the Somm Journal and the Somm Foundation. Please join us on December 14th for our next webinar, Iconic Grapes in Distinctive Regions. We certainly saw some iconic grapes in distinctive regions today. I'm going to remind you that this has been recorded on Facebook Live if you want to check it out. You can also see the recording on the SommJournal.com and SommFoundation.com websites, and the printed recap will be in the February-March issue of Somm Journal. So thank you guys all very much for tuning in. Thank you to our brilliant panel and some great information out there. Thank you, Somm Journal, Somm Foundation for all you do, and Somm Journal too. Why not? Thank you guys very much. Had a great time today, and look forward to the next time. Stay well, everybody. Stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.